and welcome to today's show of RVTravelTV.com. I'm your host, Jeff, and we have the final interview. Well, hopefully not the final interview. We have the third interview with Sprinter Tour 2010, Rob and Jan. How you doing, guys?
Real good. Good to be here, Jeff.
You're alive and well.
We are indeed alive and well. We made it.
You made it. So can you briefly recap what, for those who haven't followed you guys, what you actually did, what you accomplished? It was just amazing.
Well, we took a 7-month tour of 50 national parks, drove 34,000 plus miles, and we were sponsored by Mercedes-Benz and Airstream to do that trip. And we started April 28th and finished November 29th of last year.
And and basically, you guys are still sitting next to each other, so that's a good sign.
Well, really close to each other, because we're used to being close to each other.
Somebody asked us that this week, and I said, actually, we were much closer than after the trip than we were before.
Yeah.
It was really good for our relationship. Yeah, it was great.
That's great. Yeah. So, did it live up to the expectations of a trip of a lifetime?
Oh, way beyond. Yeah. Because we had never camped, we'd never RV'd before, so it was a whole new experience. We had no idea what we were in store for. So I guess you could say anything was.
Yeah. And so many people said this is a trip of a lifetime, and we understood that from a cerebral perspective. Like, okay, I got the concept, but we had no idea what we were in for. I mean, it was just, it was so incredible. It was borderline bizarre. Just the things we saw, the things we did, the people we met, the things we learned. We weren't prepared emotionally for what we were going to go through. Yeah. Yes, it was definitely a trip of a lifetime. No question.
And I also think I was going to say that it's hard for someone who has not RV'd before to even relate to it, because our friends here that, we've come back to Florida now, they don't even know what to ask us because they've never been on the road like that before. The people that really understood it were the people that were on the road that we met.
Right.
Then they got it. They got it far more than our friends.
Yeah.
Plus, you guys had to go from like zero knowledge to being an expert on the road and being self-reliant to a degree, and that's
right.
that's pretty big, actually.
Very big.
Right.
We didn't know how big that was. It's a good thing we didn't know that.
So how did the Airstream perform for you guys? I mean,
well, we were
live, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, it was when they first told us that we were going to get an Airstream Interstate, the Mercedes people told us that's what the vehicle was going to be. We went down to a dealership in Denver and looked at one. And we said, we can't do this. There's no way we're going to be able to live for 7 months in this 23.5 foot, 8 feet wide space. Can't do it. And then we looked at each other and said, well, we have to do it. We don't have a choice. So as it turns out, there was way more space in it than we thought. It performed far beyond what we had expected. They told us we'd get about 19 to the gallon. We got just under that at the end of the trip.
Wow.
And everything worked. I mean, we never had any breakdowns, no flat tires, no mechanical. We had one thing go wrong, and it's an automated step to get in and out of the RV. We had that replaced in 2 hours. So it was, other than normal maintenance with oil changes, and we went through a set of tires, and that was it. I mean, everything was, Airstream builds quality, and so does Mercedes. Right. So they delivered.
Yeah, and that's part of one of the reasons why you want to go with someone who has dealerships nationwide is when want to stop in for service or something like that, or there's a problem, there's yes, you have to drive somewhere, but it's not like you can't get it fixed. And they offer.
Correct. And we didn't really appreciate that when we started out, but we actually had two sets of dealerships supporting us. We had Mercedes for the ongoing maintenance of the engine and the drivetrain,
right,
and then we had the whole Airstream team behind us for anything that would actually go wrong with the RV part of it. So it was unbelievable, actually. Stop and think about it.
Yeah, we never had any close calls or, as I said, stranded on the side of the road or never anything like that. Of course, we always figured if we were stranded on the side of the road, a helicopter would come in and come down immediately and pick us up because they wouldn't want us stranded on the side of the road with Airstream and Mercedes-Benz sitting on the side. But that never happened.
Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Well, that would have been another ride, right? That would have been great.
That's right.
Yeah. So now, you had to turn it back in. Did you consider about keeping it at all, or was that hit your mind, or you just wanted to turn it back in at the end of the trip?
Well, we knew when we left that we were going to have to turn it back in.
We hoped they'd have a change of heart while we were on the trip, but they didn't.
we went to a Mercedes dealership in Phoenix, Schumacher Mercedes-Benz, and they put on an event at their dealership for people that were interested in the interstate. And the guys there said, "What are you going to do with this when we're done?" I said, "Well, we have to turn it back into Airstream." And at that point in the trip, we said it would really be great if they just gave it to us. If they were really generous people.
As if that wasn't generous enough, what you got. No, exactly.
I mean, what are you going to do with this vehicle? And the sales manager there said, "You might be surprised." So we're thinking the whole trip from Phoenix on.
Well, you were. I
was dreaming. I was hoping. Please give us. But no, it didn't happen. They already sold it. By the time we were done, they sold it to a company out in California.
Yeah, Airstream already had somebody lined up to buy it.
Yeah, by August it was sold.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to keep you on the hook, so you took care of it for the rest of the legs there. That was the deal.
Yeah. But if they had given it to us, we would have kept it.
Oh yeah, most definitely. That was beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Even leave the graphics on it. That was great.
Yeah, it was very cool.
You said to change it to 2000 Sprinter Tour 2012, right? Or because for the
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So we just kind of have one of those peel off calendar things. We just keep going.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So now, if you were to redo it, would you want anything a little bit bigger, or was that like the perfect size for how you wanted to travel? You're both looking at each other. I don't know. What was it bigger?
It's small space to the vehicle isn't designed for what we did, but everybody made it work.
Right.
There's another version of that vehicle. I think it's called a B plus, in which they put a bigger back on the chassis, and it's got a slide out in it. That would have been the best thing for us. We saw one of those, and we said that would have been perfect for what we were doing.
There's pros and cons to both, because that size was perfect for being able to just pull into a parking lot and park and didn't have to think about, where we're gonna put this thing.
We could pull into a parking lot and go shopping in a grocery store without any problems. We didn't have to park way out.
Yeah, or park on a side street, so that part of it was great.
So was that 19 feet long, or was it 21 feet long? Do you remember?
I think it's 23 and a half, wasn't it? 22 feet 8 inches.
Right, and then we had the cargo box on the back of it, so it ended up being about 25 feet.
Yeah.
Well,
they
but if you could,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. If you can park like 25 feet, you can get that B plus thing was probably just 24, 25 feet, right?
Yeah.
So you probably wouldn't need a cargo box or something.
Right. The difference really on that is the width.
Oh.
Because it was about 2 feet wider.
Yeah.
But still very maneuverable, and still had the diesel engine, so you get really good gas mileage.
Yeah.
But if we were going to go back on the road again for just a road trip without one where you're going and staying someplace for a month at a time or 2 weeks at a time, that to us would have been the perfect vehicle.
Right.
Right.
But I think, it definitely, if we were going to go, if we were going to buy something ourselves and go for a long time, then we would get something bigger that we were actually going to be living in. We knew this was, a short time.
Yeah, when there is an advantage to having a permanent bed kind of arrangement somewhere, where it's just kind of, and then makes it a little bit nicer. And a little more space.
None of that was a problem for us. We had a routine, and that was easy to put back every day. But yes, it would be nice to have another arrangement.
So, what were the highlights of your trip? I mean, where did you like to go, and if you had to go back, or if you wanted to go back, where would you want to go back to?
All of them.
Hey, that's not fair. Come on, you got to have something.
Well, there are some parks that we wouldn't want to go spend time in again. But the real highlight parks they tend to be the big name parks like Glacier and Yosemite, Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Zion
for sure.
Yeah. Denali.
Mount Rainier. Olympic was a park we wish we'd spend more time in. And then once you get to Alaska, you don't really want to leave Alaska.
Right.
You don't want to leave. You don't want to go back to not the mainland, but the lower 48. So if we could go back, we'd probably want to do the southwest northwest kind of routine. And then oddly enough, we'd really like to go back to Cuyahoga, which is a small park south of Cleveland. It's more of an urban park, but it's really a cool place. We had no idea that the park even existed. Then we get down there, and we just had a great time there. Wonderful.
Yeah,
it's a really cool experience.
Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, now you could watch the Cleveland Indians play. I think they're winning in baseball for the first time in 20 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be great.
So some of these parks were really surprises. The Voyagers was different than we expected, and so was Isle Royal. So that whole part of the trip was different than what we had expected.
So now, as you kind of, say you're halfway through your trip, did you have a different perspective on everything at that point than what you thought it was going to be starting out? I mean, did your perception change as you got on the road, you got more, and you realized, wow, this could be a way of life almost, or?
Yeah, I think even before we started up to Alaska, we talked. I mean, there was a lot of hours driving in the RV, and we talk about it. We'd say, could we do this full time? And we could do this full time.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting question. Our perspective certainly did change as the trip went on. It became, we realized that we'd rather be out there than in a city.
Yeah.
In fact, in any size city, we'd rather be out there because we didn't really appreciate the real value of the wilderness and the kinds of people that live out there. So yeah, our perspective about both the trip and how to live changed a lot.
Yeah.
For the better, we think.
Yeah, and what was important, because we got away from. There was a lot that went on in the world while we were off traveling. And you know what? It didn't make a bit of difference that we were out there. We didn't care. We didn't care. But we just weren't involved in it. We weren't uptight about it because we weren't listening to it every day.
The big thing was no stress.
No.
I mean, there was no stress, except when we had little disagreements.
Yeah. Right. Like when he didn't read the map, the trail map or something, and got us that lost. But we're here, so we somehow found our way.
You made it back, so it sounds like the trip was one giant Oprah mode. You know, it's like it was a aha moment every time. So it's kind of like,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what was the best? What was the most fun you had on the road? Where was that? Or there was too many places to mention?
Fun on the road, I think for me was, well, you too, was the people that we met. We would stop in places and there would be a tap on the door, and I'd open the door and, oh, we've been looking for you. We knew you were going to be in this park, and they were just so excited to see us. It was meeting the people on the road. It was really, I mean, of course, the scenery and the hikes and all that was fantastic.
It was fun,
but it was meeting the people that were following us was the most fun for us.
We
to really actually believe that people were actually following us. That was amazing, and they were looking for us.
We left. We were pulling out of we were exiting from Sequoia, and the ranger that was working. There's this young gal working in the ranger. She was a ranger at the park, and you have to check out when you're leaving. And she said, "Oh, you're here! I was waiting for you guys to show up. I was hoping I'd be working the gate when you came." And she was just so excited to see us.
Jumping up and down.
It was just, that kind of stuff was just so much fun.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were driving a giant walking driving billboard.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it had the big all the
But you don't see that when you're inside the RV.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You forget. Oh yeah, we're split. Yeah.
Or somebody would pull up at a stoplight beside us and start taking pictures with their cell phone, and we go, "What are they taking pictures of?" And they're, "Oh, right,
No, it's us.
Well, let me do something.
The whole thing of using the RV as a billboard. We got our first Facebook post the afternoon we left Airstream's factory. We got a Facebook post from a guy who took a picture of us as we drove by him on the freeway.
Yeah.
So we thought maybe this thing will work,
Yeah, exactly. So, do you have any regrets about anything when you were on the road, or running over a small squirrel or something, or anything at all?
We saw a bear die that had been hit by a car. That was sad.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
But regrets. Regret we had to end it. I mean, that was much better than this.
Where we are now. Yeah.
Doing that is better than anything we've ever done or likely will do. So, but a regret I personally had was when we were in Big Bend National Park.
Where's Big Bend?
Texas.
Down southern Texas, right near the border.
Way down there.
Way long ways. I met a follower there who was a photographer, and he said, "Man," he said, "when at night," he said, "wait until about 2:00 in the morning." He said, "Set your camera up on a tripod and leave the shutter open for 30 seconds." He says, "You will not believe the photographs you'll get." I said, "Okay, great, thanks. I appreciate the tip." And I thought, well, I'll do that when we get to Sequoia. I'll do it when we get to Mount Rainier. I'll do it when we get to Alaska. I'll do it when we get to Denali. I'll do it when we get to Glacier. We actually went to an evening stargazing event in Glacier, and we saw the 3 moons of Jupiter.
Wow.
I mean, just you go, man, what? So, and then I thought, okay, last place I'm going to do this is at the Badlands in South Dakota. Never took the photo. So we spent 7 months on the road. We went to every superb spot to take photos of the Milky Way, and I never took the shot. Big regret.
Wow.
Big regret.
Mine would be probably journaling more.
Yeah.
So, like a daily journal of the things you've done, or
Yeah, and to us at the beginning, we weren't going to do that because we didn't ever think of like writing a book on what we did day one, day two. We got up, we did this, but I kind of wish now that I had them just for me.
Right.
And a lot of it was less about the daily routine, because once you've got a routine down, you don't want to say every day, well, we got up, we had breakfast, we disconnected, and we hit the road. But every day there were things that went on that we wish we'd recorded. Things that happened or experiences we had, some funny things, some bad things, but just things we wish we'd kept better track of. That would be a big regret.
Yeah. I mean, now you have a sense of how beautiful the United States really is. I mean, you know, you wouldn't know it if you flew over, went to all these different places, but when you drive it and you see it firsthand, you go, wow, what a magnificent country.
Yes.
You could look at National Geographic magazines till your eyes fell out, and you would still not get it until you go.
Yeah.
You have to go. You have to go to the parks.
Well, you have to see the country. Doesn't it even matter?
Yeah.
There's a lot on the way.
But you have to go to the parks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit. So,
Right.
you know, because you're a photographer and you had a website and all that, do you was it something helpful to have that technology, or was it like a little bit of a hindrance in terms of being disconnected and really enjoying the environment around you, you know? Am I making sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We actually had the best of both worlds. When we were out in the parks, cell phones didn't work, computers didn't work, so we had that isolation experience that we were really craving. But when we come back to the RV, that was an opportunity not to connect with what was going on in the world, but to connect with people that were following us and were interested in what we were experiencing, as well as having the technology to be able to stay in touch with our family and our grandson. Because we have with our Apple computers, we've got automatic video conferencing, or not conferencing, but video chatting built in.
Right.
So if we had a good internet connection, we could interact with them just like we're interacting with you now. So it was really the best of both worlds, and the cell phones that were supposed to be the big boon of staying in touch were almost worthless.
Yeah, because our idea was, you know, we were going to be tweeting from, you know, while we were on the trail. Well, that
Forget that.
That couldn't happen.
Yeah.
We were glad in the end that it didn't, because that would have taken more time away from. I mean, I waited enough with him taking photos, like, you know, let's get on with the hike. But I don't regret now that he took all those photos, you know.
Yeah.
We only took 15,000 photos.
Yeah.
15,000 photos.
Okay,
Thank God for digital cameras, huh? I mean,
But that sounds like a lot, but it's not. If you figure we spent average 4 days in every park, 300 photos per park times 50 is 15,000.
Yeah. So it's really not all
it's
that
easy
many.
to get to 15,000 photos.
And not all good, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But could you imagine if you had to do that all with film?
No,
wow.
I
if
don't
anybody had told me I was taking 15,000, I would have told them they're nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you do it a little bit at a time, it works.
So, what life lessons did you learn from this little trip?
Life lessons.
Ah,
Oh,
hey, that was your question.
We came to appreciate family a whole lot more. Because it's one thing to video chat, it's another thing to be in the same room with people.
To physically have the presence of someone.
Yeah.
I think for us, you know, we had already downsized. We had already gone through, you know, getting rid of everything in our home pretty well. We were really down to a small 2-bedroom apartment before we went on this trip. But even it just brought home to us even more so how those things don't matter.
Right.
And that what's out there and experiencing what this country is and what the world is so much more rewarding than the stuff.
Than owning stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Experiences
versus things.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
And they can really, those things can really hold you back. You know, I talk to friends, I'd love to do that trip, but I can't because I've got this house full of this and that. Well, it's just a matter of a decision.
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it.
Right.
The other real life lesson that we both experienced was, and we didn't realize it at the time, but so much of the time we spent on the road, we were in the moment. We lived in the moment. So we weren't thinking of what happened back there, and we weren't thinking about what was coming up next.
Right.
It was just, we were right there, and that's where we were. We were focused on the moment, and it was such a different way to live.
Right.
Well,
that was a huge lesson for us.
Even in our relationship, I mean, we already decided, we can't hold, because you made me angry, you did something that really made me angry. I can't hold on to that because it ruins the rest of the day. So let's just get over it and move on. And, you're together all the time. So you'd have a pretty miserable trip if you didn't have that kind of decision made ahead of time.
Yep.
So
just let him take the picture. Let him take the picture.
That's right. He's going to do it. That's right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, again, I hate to bring up Oprah again, but that's kind of like the whole thing about being present, versus thinking about what you should be doing, what you should have done, or something like that.
Exactly.
Being present in the moment really makes a big difference in your life.
It does. Yep.
And I guess being on the road really just accentuates that.
And it facilitates it. It makes it a whole lot easier to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So now that when you first got into your back home, how did it feel being able to take your arms, wave around, looking at all this space you have? It's just is it a strange feeling having all this space around you now?
Well, if you really knew what has happened to us since the beginning of December to now.
Oh, okay. So something else has happened.
I'll tell you, and then I'll tell you, okay? We got back November 29th. We went to New Jersey for 2 months. We went up to New Jersey to spend 2 months with my daughter and son-in-law. My daughter had another baby.
On December 9th.
On December the 9th. So we finished the trip on the 29th. The baby was born on the 9th. So we rented a small cottage up there, and we're snowed in most of December and January.
We dug out of 3 blizzards.
I mean, it was the worst.
So
we rented a cottage near them. So that was December and January. And then just as we were packing up to come to Florida to find a place to live, Rob's mother passed away. So we had to go to Michigan and clean out a house of 40 years that his dad was living in.
And my dad had a knee replacement operation while we were there.
Right. So then we went to Columbus, picked up our furniture, and finally came. We didn't get here till March the 15th. We moved in to our place here in Florida.
And once we put the stuff in the house, we turned around and drove back
to New Jersey.
Because our kids were moving into a new house up there, and they needed help unpacking all this stuff.
Right, and who's going to do it but Mom and Dad?
So we went up there for 10 days.
Right.
Hey, man, you guys know how to drive, so why not?
Well, we do.
So we really still have been on the road, just not. So now we're in this house, and we are house tending. So we're really not settled because we are taking care of a house that's up for sale.
But your real question about space.
Ugh, we can't. It's too much space. It's too much to take care of.
Walking from the master bedroom to the kitchen is like, I got to go all the way down there.
I can't hear him. I can't hear him in the house. Where are you?
Where? It's ridiculous. Why do we live like this?
Well, you have another opportunity now that you're kind of semi-settled. It's time for, another big adventure.
That's right.
Have you thought about that? Are you thinking about kind of doing something similar at all, or?
We have 2 projects we're working on. One is we only saw 50 parks. There's 58 of them. So we want our first goal, the first project is to visit the other 8 that we missed. The problem is they're in the Virgin Islands, Hawaii, Samoa. There's 3 in Alaska that we have to get to. So we're trying to figure out how to package that to make it a a sponsorable event.
Well, I don't think you want to sail. I mean, sailing to Hawaii would be, another learning curve that could be very dangerous for you. Yeah.
So there may be bits and pieces. It may not be a complete eight park tour.
We'll have to do a couple at a time.
We're trying to figure out how to make that happen. On a bigger scale, we're trying to figure out how to get on the road ourselves on a more permanent basis. And we've toyed with the idea of going to other countries and doing national park tours there, like Canada or Australia.
Yeah.
Canada has 43 national parks.
But they're very spread out. That's a big undertaking. Well, it is in Australia too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are the things we're starting to work on a plan to make happen.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, that's what and with your track record, come on. You guys will you'll be shrimp on the Barbie at Ayers Rock or something like that's going to be happening. They have Skype out there. That'll be great.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. No, Australia would be a real hoot to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we visited there before. It's just a great place to go.
Yeah.
Well, Qantas Airlines, that's your first sponsorship, right?
Yeah.
So,
fortunately, we have a really good contact in Australia that has spent 30 years in government service at pretty high levels, so we have connections there. But Jan said, let's just stay settled for about a year, and so we'll see what happens. It takes a lot of planning to make something happen.
Yeah.
So.
Amazing. Well, I'm just going to wrap this up. So, you guys look amazingly happy, which is great. And
Thank you.
Hey, no, it's true.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You tell them.
We're one of the things that has come up in the last couple of weeks is we thought, after having been on the trip, we said, okay, that's over and done with. Close that door. Now let's think about what we're going to do next. But we had some people ask us about experiences and places we've been. And Jan started talking about, a year ago today we were in this place. A year ago today we were in this place. A year ago today we were on this hike. And what we decided to do is to launch a new blog site where we're going to talk about what we did a year ago today. Now, we're not going to blog every day, but we're going to hit highlights of things that happened during the whole 7 months that we were on the road. And the name of the blog site is 1 Year Ago Today.
Oh, that's a great idea. And you have all your photos and everything too to kind of
Right.
have talking points or something
that we didn't put up on Facebook the first time around.
And there's a lot that we want to write about and share with people that we weren't able to do while we were on the road. And we now have the perspective of having done the trip. So it should make for some interesting stuff. That's what we're working on right now. We hope to launch that at the end of May.
Well, basically, that's about 1 week, so better get blogging.
He's got to get going.
Exactly, cut. No, I mean, hey, it's something. I think it's a great idea. So 1 year it's 1 year ago today.com.
Number one.
Yeah, number 1 year ago, and then today is with a number 2.
Okay.
So 1 year ago today, and we'll announce it on the Sprinter Tour Facebook site. So
great.
If people want to visit there, that's where we will make several announcements there when we launch the blog.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, I think you guys, there's no rest for you guys. I mean, let's face it, you got to do something.
Well, we didn't realize. I certainly didn't realize how enjoyable it would go back. It would be to go back and revisit those parks from our memories.
Yeah.
Because our daughter is actually doing the map that shows the actual roads we took on the whole trip. And she'll send a note and say, okay, how did you get from this park to that? What roads did you take? And I'll go, well, we did this. And oh, by the way, we stopped here and we go, wow, man, that's right. We did all that. So it's really great to bring the trip back to life for us. And we want to share that with the people that have been following us because they really like it.
I think
Yeah.
Rob went through a grieving process when we handed the keys back at Airstream the last day. I mean, we cried. It was just so sad.
Well, you were that was your home for 7 months. I mean, come on.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instant depression.
Yeah.
But we've gotten over it.
No, you gotten over it. All right. Hey, well, thank you so much again. This was Sprinter Tour 2010, the Rob and Jan interview, and we're going to wrap this up, and then, well, hopefully we'll do another one when it's 1 year ago today.
Good.
Okay.
That'd be great. There you go, Jeff. Thanks a
Thanks.
bunch, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great
Take care.
getting to know you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.